12 signs is not a list to memorize. It is 4 times 3. Once you can see the grid, you stop remembering signs and start deriving them. Open any beginner's guide and you get 12 paragraphs. Aries is like this. Taurus is like that. 12 personalities, each described on its own terms, each to be held in your head separately. That is the hardest possible way to learn this, and it is also misleading. It presents the signs as 12 independent things. They are not. They are too much smaller ideas crossed. Learn the 2, and the 12 come out on their own. It is the difference between memorizing a multiplication table and understanding multiplication. One of those you can be tested on. The other one you can actually use on numbers nobody has shown you yet. Start with the first idea. 4 elements: fire, earth, air, water. Every sign belongs to exactly one of them, and each element takes 3 signs. Fire is Aries, Leo and Sagittarius. Earth is Taurus, Virgo and Capricorn. Air is Gemini, Libra and Aquarius. Water is Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces. 4 groups of 3, with nothing left over. The signs in a group are not next to each other on the circle. They sit at even spacing, a third of the way round from each other, which is why the tradition draws them as triangles. Aries at the start of spring, Leo in high summer, Sagittarius in late autumn. Evenly spaced, with a third of the circle between each of them. The same shape holds for every element, turned by 1 sign each time. It is worth being precise about what the word is doing here. The tradition does not mean that a fire sign is made of fire. The 4 elements come from Greek natural philosophy, where Empedocles set them out in the 5th century before the Common Era as the roots of all matter. By the time astrology picked them up, they had already become a way of sorting temperaments. Hot and dry, cold and wet, categories of disposition rather than chemistry. So an element in a chart is a family resemblance, the tradition asserts. Nothing is being claimed about substance. The distinction matters more than it looks, because a good deal of the criticism aimed at astrology assumes the older and more literal reading. The tradition gave up that reading a very long time ago. Now the second idea, and this one is not a metaphor at all. 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, mutable. Each takes 4 signs. They come straight off the calendar. The tropical zodiac begins at the spring equinox, and every sign is 30 degrees wide. So the equinoxes and the solstices land exactly on the openings of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Those 4 are the cardinal signs, and they start seasons. The next sign along in each season is fixed, the middle of the season, the settled part. The last is mutable, where one season is turning into the next. Beginning, middle, end. 4 times over. None of that is interpretation. It falls out of where the zodiac is anchored, which is why the modalities are the more solid half of the pair. So the 2 ideas cut the circle in different directions. What happens when you lay one on top of the other? Put element on one axis and modality on the other, and you get a grid. 4 columns, 3 rows. 12 cells. And here is the part worth pausing on. Every cell holds exactly 1 sign. No cell is empty, and no cell has 2. Fire and cardinal gives you Aries, and only Aries. Water and fixed gives you Scorpio, and only Scorpio. This is not a coincidence, anyone arranged. Element repeats every 4 signs around the circle. Modality repeats every 3. 4 and 3 share no factor. So the pairs run through the whole circle before any of them comes up again. It is the same reason a clock with a 12-hour face and a 60-minute hand needs a full hour to repeat a position. Two cycles with no common factor have to exhaust each other before they line up. Which means you can work forwards. Someone says fixed water and you do not look it up. Fixed is the middle of a season. Water runs Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. The middle of its season is Scorpio. You have the sign, and more usefully, you have the reason. Try it the other way. Take Sagittarius. It is fire, and it is the last sign of autumn, so it is mutable. Fire that is on its way somewhere. One more, cardinal Earth. Cardinal is the opening of a season. Earth runs Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the one that opens a season is Capricorn, the winter solstice. 3 words in, and you have not looked anything up. That is the whole trick. 2 labels, and the description assembles itself. The grid also explains something people notice without being able to name it. Signs of the same modality are said to be at odds. Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. All cardinal, all starting something, all pulling in different directions. Draw them on the circle, and they make a square, 4 points at right angles to each other. Do the same for fixed and for mutable, and you get 2 more squares. 3 crosses laid over 1 wheel. Same job, different element, no agreement. That is what the tradition means when it calls those hard angles. It is useful vocabulary, even if you take none of it seriously. It is what people are pointing at when they say 2 signs do not get on. They are not describing personalities. They are describing a shape on the wheel. But the columns work the other way. What do signs share when they share an element? Take the 3 water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Same element, so the tradition gives them the same raw material. But they sit in 3 different modalities, and that is where they part. Cancer is cardinal. It opens a season at the solstice. Scorpio is fixed, and it holds the middle of one. Pisces is mutable. It sits at the end of winter, on the edge of the turn back to spring. The tradition puts it plainly enough. The element says what a sign is working with, and the modality says which stage of the work it is at. Cancer is starting. Scorpio is holding. Pisces is letting go. Same element, 3 different jobs. And the grid told you that before anyone described a single personality. Now run it the other way and take the 4 fixed signs. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. These 4 are never grouped together in a beginner's guide because they have no element in common. What they share is position. Each one sits in the middle of its season, in the settled part, the part that is neither starting nor ending. The tradition reads that as steadiness. It reads the same steadiness into all 4, in 4 different materials. So a fixed earth sign and a fixed air sign are relatives. Just not the kind of relatives the 12 paragraphs ever mention. That is the cost of teaching the signs one at a time. The columns get taught roughly because elements are easy to describe. The rows almost never do, and the rows are the half that comes from the calendar. Which gives you the useful thing. 2 signs called similar can be similar in 2 completely different ways. Same element is one kind of family, same modality is another. They are not interchangeable, and people muddle them constantly. Pick a row and a column, and they cross in exactly one place. That single cell is the sign, and the 2 labels are the reason. Once you know which kind of similarity you are looking at, a lot of the contradictions in beginner guides stop being contradictions. They were comparing along different axes without ever saying so. So where did any of this come from? Start with the number itself. 12 is not there because 12 is mystical. It is there because 4 and 3 both have to divide it. Cut a circle into 4, and you get the elements. Cut the same circle into 3, and you get the modalities. To do both at once and land on whole signs, you need a number both of them go into. The smallest one is 12. Any other number breaks it. 10 gives you elements that do not fit. 9 gives you modalities that do not. 12 is the first place the two schemes can coexist, and the zodiac is what that looks like, which is worth holding on to the next time someone tells you the number is significant. It is significant, just not for the reason usually given, and the actual reason is a better one. Now the parts. The elements are Greek. Empedocles, 5th century before the Common Era, arguing that everything is made of 4 roots in different mixtures. That idea outlived him by millennia. It framed European natural science until the 17th century. The modalities are not philosophy at all. They are the calendar, which is why they are the sturdier half of the pair. And the grid, the crossing of the two, came later than either. It is a synthesis, assembled by people organizing a tradition they had inherited. Not a revelation, and nobody in the sources claims it was. That is a fairly ordinary thing for a body of knowledge to be. Somebody inherits 2 schemes that each work on their own, notices they can be crossed, and writes down the result. One thing to be straight about. Everything here is a description of how the tradition is built. The grid is real in a narrow sense. The arrangement is exactly what it claims to be, and the arithmetic really does work out. Whether the categories describe anything about people is a different question. This is not the video that answers it. What the grid does give you is a way to read the tradition without memorizing it. That is worth having either way. So, 2 axes, 4 elements from Greek philosophy sorting the signs into temperaments, 3 modalities from the calendar sorting them into beginnings, middles, and ends, 12 cells each holding exactly 1 sign. 4 and 3 fit together there and nowhere smaller. Nothing left to memorize. Just 2 labels, and the sign falls out of them. 2 axes and 12 cells, with a reason attached to each. And every other thing this channel covers sits on top of this one. Next time, the planets that rule these signs, and what happened to a tidy scheme when astronomers went and found 3 more of them.